As I was before, we did nothing wrong, and I intend to not cooperate with the grand jury process that's all in secret.
And these people are part of the anti-war committee, and I've known some of them before, and they're just ordinary nice people. And they stood up to the FBI and grand jury and said no, and now 3 subpoenas, 3 of them are being subpoenaed again, probably with immunity, which means if they don't testify, they can lock them up for 18 months.
Democratic Visions is handmade in Eden Prairie and Minnetonka by DFL Senate District 42.
Well, we've got several volunteers who are active here on Democratic Visions who participate in the new media and journalism. For example, Tommy Johnson,
Bravo,
investigative blogger. He's here regularly on Democratic Visions. The other new media guy on our team, Bill Sorem, talked with our producer Jeff Strait about how he covers political stories that are ignored by mainstream media.
Bill, of course, you're a longtime staff member of Democratic Visions. How long have you been here?
Oh, about 5 years.
5 years. Well, I don't need to welcome you then, do I?
No.
Okay.
Kind of know the place.
Now, you're very active in the Twin City community with your camera, and you cover a lot of events, a lot of political events, a lot of news events, but you're not working for a regular TV station. What's the story here?
No, well, I'm one of the volunteers for working for the Uptake.
Tell people what the Uptake is.
The Uptake is a internet-based news medium. We are citizen journalists, and we report the stuff that other people don't. We cover the election debates, every one of them, covered the recount hearing and the canvassing.
Craig, I'm going to jump in here just a moment because I know we're about to hit a bump here.
Mike McEntee commands the Uptake's modest office and control room in St. Paul.
It is citizen journalism, but it has a layer of professional journalism over it to make sure that everything is done properly.
The web-based news service has earned kudos for its live, unedited coverage of the Frank and Coleman recount, the recent gubernatorial debates, and the Dayton Emmer recounts in Ramsey and Hennepin counties.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Now, the Uptake assigns trained volunteers like Bill, armed with camcorders, laptops, and uplink software, to many of the events covered by the major media.
2 o'clock, he's calling it. 2 o'clock Friday. They hope to
The Uptake provides much more than 7-second sound bites. This summer, for example, the Uptake alone provided gavel-to-gavel coverage of the DFL convention in Duluth.
working.
Now, even when it streams edited coverage, viewers get more. Bill Sorem loves covering the demonstrations, happenings that TV and the dailies, for some reason, do not find newsworthy.
I'm identified, by the way, as the protest beat reporter.
At the Uptake?
Yeah, I was in an article last week from the Uptake, something about Bill Sorem, our protest beat reporter.
Oh. This sounds very much like the early 70s and earlier in the civil rights movement during the 60s. They're not covering this stuff on Channel 5, 4, 11, or 9.
I've learned how to stick a camera in people's face and say talk.
Well, you look so charming and cute that no one suspects you're up to nothing but good.
The current hot story is the FBI, when the FBI raided 9 people, served subpoenas to come to the Chicago grand jury on giving material aid to terrorism.
We did nothing wrong, and I intend to not cooperate with the grand jury process that's all in secret.
And these people are part of the anti-war committee, and I've known some of them before, and they're just ordinary nice people. And they stood up to the FBI and grand jury and said no, and now 3 subpoenas, 3 of them are being subpoenaed again, probably with immunity, which means if they don't testify, they can lock them up for 18 months. And the real issue is they want names of the people they saw in Colombia and Palestine, and in both cases, naming the trade union people in Colombia and the activists in Palestine amounts to a death sentence that the Colombian government or Israel will kill them.
Every American should be concerned when law enforcement and the grand jury system are used to declare war on nonviolent dissent.
He comes to me most of the time and says, there's this happening. These people are meeting. I want to go in and show it. I said, wonderful, Bill. Grab your camera and go.
Why are you doing this stuff now?
Because it's fun. And I think I can make a difference. I can tell stories of people. The people that I interview are rarely on any other kind of media, and they're real genuine people and have really nice stories to tell.
You know, I'm a big believer in access television and the new media, YouTube and the Uptake. and you need more people, don't you?
Yeah, we're running a continual drive to get volunteers. That's how I found out about it. Email came around volunteers, so I kind of worked my way in. And we've got a couple of full-time people, but the rest are, volunteers.
Bill comes up with good story ideas. He understands storytelling, and he can cut together the pictures and tell you from beginning to end what happened and picked out the important bits, so you don't have to sit there and wade through all the stuff where people are staring at the ceiling. He finds the good stuff and puts it together.
Well, I edit at home. I've got an office at home. I worked out of my home since mid-1980s, first with an advertising agency and then as a computer programmer.
Your background is in advertising.
I was in an advertising agency for about 20 years. That was one lifetime. And then I went and managed a sailboat charter fleet in the Virgin Islands, did that for a year and a half, and came back and started my own agency, and then went to Australia. In 1989, I came back and started programming.
So you found the 5-county mosquito control district comparable to the other places in the world you've been to?
I left here forever twice, and both times came back.
Okay. Break coming up on your channel, so I'm going to jump over here to...
And so when you object to a vote...
The uptake is monitored by the major media, newspapers and television stations, as well as networks sometimes.
Right. We got picked up on the Olbermann show some time ago on the Target piece.
Tell us about that Target piece.
Well, that was one of the first major ones I did. Tommy Johnson came to me with the idea, and Rondi Raitan, who lives here in Eden Prairie, was so upset about the Target giving $150,000 to Minnesota Forward for Tom Emmer, which is very much against gay rights, that she said she makes her mad enough to cut up her Target card. So we set it up and followed her in the store. She bought about $200 worth of stuff. And
what Target store?
Target store in Eden Prairie.
In Eden Prairie, okay.
Yeah, and bought about $200 and some odd of stuff. And then since the Target had already made me and I couldn't tape anymore, she said, well, that's all right, we'll go to another store.
Okay.
So we loaded the stuff in her car and went out to Chanhassen and returned everything and told them exactly why she was returning it. This was something for her granddaughter, and it was returned because of the money to the Emmer committee. And then she cut up her card and went outside, and we did a stand-up in front of the store and how the cut-up card in her hand, and she told the story.
A number of the items were for my grandchildren, and they love their Uncle Jake so much, and Jake is gay, and they would.
But it went viral on YouTube, and we had some 350,000 views on it.
Visits on all-time. Was this an uptake project, or
right?
And did it make a difference?
Well, it did.
How's holiday shopping at Target right now?
I don't know about that, but we a couple of weeks later had of them delivering, I think it was 750,000 signatures. They delivered these petitions to Target headquarters.
Just because the Supreme Court in a 5-4 ruling said they had the right to do this, doesn't mean as a corporation that they should be doing it.
And gay rights had picked it up because this became a gay rights issue, and Rondi's son is gay.
With YouTube, Twitter, all this new social media, you can reach out there if, as you say, something's viral. Now, what do you mean by viral? Well, it sounds like I don't want to. Sounds like I don't want to
well,
get
I pick up what other people say. Viral means that it takes off kind of a life on its own and grows very quickly. The word passes around.
You've also covered some demonstrations and protests by Women Against Military Madness.
Right.
What are they like to work with?
Well, they're fun. Actually, the Women Against Military Madness Thursday show is not part of the uptake. I've been doing that on my own. We did a series with Polly Mann, who's now 90 years old, and other people on the Minneapolis Mall interviewing people about war issues. And then I covered the Indians when they took over Fort Snelling, invaded Fort Snelling. And
what was that issue?
Well, it started out on the immigration issue in the Latino community and the Dakota. There were a few Anishinaabe there, but Anishinaabe, but demonstrating against the Arizona immigration thing. And the Dakota have long claimed that Fort Snelling belongs to them. It's sacred ground, and they want to tear down that fort.
Sir, I know for a fact you were served a copy of the 1805 treaty.
That was kind of fun because at the immigration protest, Channel 9 and 5 and 11, I think, were outside, but they'd left. The protest was over, and I stuck around and got to follow them into the parade ground.
You're doing a better job than the regular guys out there.
We do some things that they can't.
Just about a year ago, I was in downtown Minneapolis in Hennepin County Government Center covering the Minneapolis version of the Gaza Freedom March. Now, a year ago, there were marches all over the world. There was an attempt in Egypt, from Egypt, to enter Gaza on behalf of peace and bring aid. And it was a worldwide event, to tell the truth. And I went down there with my camera. You were there too.
Right.
And you disappeared. What happened?
Well, I interviewed a bunch of people beforehand about
Sure.
what it was about and had the background stuff, and then I went out in the Skyway to wait for him to come. And the door opened.
To march through the Skyways.
They were going to march through the Skyways,
Yeah.
So I waited out there because I like to get the people coming at the camera and going by it, or step in the middle of the parade and have them peel on each side. And these people started coming out, and so I was filming, and I'd back up, and then I'd turn around and run ahead and back up, and then I finally stayed long enough to get a bunch of them, and they were all chanting in Spanish.
Wrong group?
Wrong group. It was I'm not sure exactly, I don't remember.
It was
exactly
a labor
what
group, I think.
Some labor group.
Yeah, it was a labor group,
You know, we were talking about Bill Sorem. Yes, he knows these progressive organizations. That's his beat. I mean, this goes back to what journalism is really about. It's getting people who really know the subject involved in telling the story.
At a citizen level, you can still make a dent.
Yep. You have to recognize that you're dealing with usually hundreds, maybe thousands of people. You're not talking to huge audiences.
Yeah.
Then, things get changed one person at a time, so.
You're going to remain busy with the Uptake, right?
Right. And there will always be protests of something or other.
Good. Well,
and I have 12 grandkids.
There you go. Bill, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see you off camera.
All righty.
Democratic Visions is handmade in Eden Prairie and Minnetonka by DFL Senate District 42. Norbert Gurnis, Chair.
Happy holidays and best wishes.